watching ABC 36 on your side. Good morning, Kentucky.
Welcome back. We're talking kids with Dr. Caitlynn this morning with Lexington pediatrician Dr. Caitlynn Iddings. Welcome back, Dr. Caitlynn. How are you doing today?
Good. Cold.
Cold. It is freezing. We've been saying it all morning, so put on those jackets today. So today we are going to be talking about some warning signs for eating disorders, especially in children. So what are some signs your kid may have an eating disorder?
Yeah, so eating disorder is really kind of an umbrella that encompasses multiple disorders. So the thing that I try to emphasize to parents is about 6% of kids and adults really who have eating disorders are not going to necessarily be underweight, right? So an eating disorder is a neuropsychological disorder where you basically have maladaptive coping skills with food, right? So typically what I ask parents to look at first is where there can be multiple kind of physical signs of eating disorders. Sometimes there may not be those signs, but there still can be that maladaptive food relationship, right? And so if you start to notice some of the behavioral things, sometimes that allows you to ask more questions and kind of tease that out a little quicker. And so some of those things could be, you know, basically like starting to avoid specific food groups. So, oh, I'm not eating carbs, and then kind of ask them, well, why is that? Is that, do they hurt your belly? Or because if they're just saying, well, I'm not eating them because carbs are bad for you, well, that's maladaptive. I always try to emphasize to people that we shouldn't be talking like good foods, bad foods for kids, or healthy foods, unhealthy foods, because all foods serve a purpose, and we want really a big variety of foods. So if you start to notice that your kid is restricting certain areas, like, oh, well, I decide to become a vegetarian or a vegan, you need to kind of tease out, well, why is that? Is that like, oh, I just like animals and decided I don't want to eat them? Or is that like, oh, well, I think protein is going to make me gain weight and I don't want to do that, right? And so if it becomes something that you're noticing they're restricting certain food types, that's a big warning sign. If you start to notice that they're avoiding wanting to eat with the family, or just you're not really seeing them eat at all, or sometimes they'll say, oh, well, I ate with a friend earlier, or, oh, I'm gonna go take this and eat it up in my room, or, you know, getting very small portion sizes of food at the dinner table, and, oh, or just sitting there and not really eating at all. The other one could be excusing themselves to go to the bathroom frequently during meals or shortly after meals, because that could be a sign that, you know, maybe they're spitting the food out, or maybe they're making themselves vomit. So that's more of like a binge eating or bulimia disorder, where it's like they're eating, but then they're purging that. And so that can be very dangerous as well. Other things could be, you know, like I said, the big ones are gonna be good food versus bad food. So, oh, I'm not gonna eat dessert because that's not a healthy food choice. And so really from a very young age, we should be teaching kids there aren't good foods, bad foods. All foods serve a purpose. We need carbs, we need protein, we need fats, we need sugars, we need all of those things for our body to be healthy, and really trying to focus on, we're gonna do a variety of foods because this food gives you carbs, and this food gives you vitamin D, and this food gives you this, so that you can be healthy and be able to exercise and do all the things that you want to do. Yeah,
so, and I know you mentioned it's neurological as well.
Yeah.
So is there anything parents can do to maybe prevent their children from developing an eating disorder?
Yeah, and so that's what I'm kind of hitting at, is even from a young age, like toddlers on, trying to stress to them. And sometimes that's hard for parents because they may have their own underlying issue with foods that was taught to them from a young age. So trying to stress, you know, if they're saying, oh, I want a cookie, well, don't tell them, oh, cookies are bad, they're unhealthy for you, right? Starting from the get-go saying, oh, well, we can have a cookie, but we need to make sure that we eat some fruits, we need to eat some vegetables, we need to have variety, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really important because, and like I said, if you're already an adult who's sort of struggled with an eating disorder in the past, or maybe you already have maladaptive things, then starting with, you know, therapy for yourself to try to work through those things so that you can certainly try to avoid
absolutely.
Giving
Passing
your kids those things.
From generation to generation. And I think this is such an important topic and something parents should definitely be looking into. Well, thank you for joining us here today and talking about this. Stay with us. You are watching ABC 36 News. We'll be back in just a moment.